inama tugiye gukora itubereye umugisha ibereye iyo kugira ngo twunguke byinshi mu buzima bwacu. Mwami mwiza, twese abavandimwe bacu bari ahantu hatandukanye, abari mu ntambara, abafite ibyorezo, turakwinginze Mana kugira ngo abe ari bo bigaragariza. Komeza uturinde muri byose, ubutuheremo umugisha, nsabye twiyambaje mu izina rya Yesu Kristo, amen.
Thank you so much, Yvonne, in leading us in a prayer. We appreciate all of you. To line up, our lineup for today's meeting, we are going to have country reports from different countries, and also we're going to have our guest speaker. She's from United States of America. Her name is Daisy Rose. She's going to give us a speech on the topic is on Black History Month. That's what she's going to talk about. So we are all invited, and we can also invite our friends and family to join us. To start off the meeting, we're going to start with country reports, and I'm going to ask is Biopopias? I'm not so sure if he is with us. Is Biopopias? All right, to start off, let me just ask about Zoe. I can see some of them are still joining. So I'm checking who is on the call right now. I'm checking who is on call right now so that she can they can give us the country reports. Yes, Robson Mogaka from Kenya. Can you go ahead and give us the report? Yes, Robson, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. Are you able to hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. You can go ahead and give us a speech. You have 1 minute to do so.
Okay, one-on-one, I'll just start reading the Kenyan report. I'm outsider. Let me just have a seat so that I read the report.
All right.
From Kenya, Kenyan Weekly Report, dates from 6th February 2022 to 12th February 2022. Activities. On Saturday, 5th February 2022, we had an interactive class sessions with Nana Akua N. Zenzele and Dr. Tyree Wrights. Country spokesperson presented their weekly reports. Members were encouraged to recommend businesses. Regular weekly newsletters was shared with the highlights on the 8 essential categories. Social media accounts was shared to group members, and our members were encouraged to follow, like, share, and comment in all platforms. Members and ambassadors were encouraged to always attend our online Zoom events. We had a Twitter space meeting hosted by our co-founder member, Sinclair Skinner, on Wednesday. Members and ambassadors were asked to prepare and submit weekly reports. COVID-19 updates in Kenya. 11th February 2022. Cumulative confirmed cases 322,388. Total recoveries 302,647. Total deaths 5,626. Cumulative tested 3,284,296. Reported by Minga Robson Mogaka from Kenya. I am because we are Ubuntu.
I am because we are. Thank you so much, Brother Robson, for giving us a report representing Kenya. We appreciate you. On next, we are going to have Elijah Nyabuti. Yes, we're going to have Elijah Nyabuti to give us a report on behalf of our brother who couldn't join us. His name is Zo Owusu Adbe from Ghana. So Brother Elijah, you can unmute yourself. Yes, Brother Elijah, you can unmute yourself.
Yes, I can hear you, sir. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you clearly. You can go ahead and present your report on behalf of Ghana.
Yes, on behalf of Ghana, the report is dated 11th February 2022. Week under review, the second quartile of February, 5th February 2022 to 12th February 2022. The summary of the activities which was done in Ghana group. We started our Saturday conference meeting by enjoying our usual spokesperson's reports on the weekly activities in our respective countries, regions, and ambassadors groups. Our most educative Pan-African class and healthcare class session was delivered by Professor Dr. Tyrene Wright and Queen Mother Nana Kwasenzele, traditional healer and founder of the Natural Path Holistic Wellness Center, LLC, respectively. We were glad to continue with the marathon of season health lessons and Pan-African education. On our regular Tuesday newsletter, which alert on our 8 essential categories, was shared, which is education, health, legal, finance, transportation, beauty, food, and accommodation. And members were encouraged to recommend Black-owned and Black-friendly businesses. I Love Black People members were encouraged to follow, like, retweet, and comment on the various social media platforms in the group. And our co-founder, Mr. Sinclair Skinner, was live on Twitter Space, and we were also live on Facebook. Our honorable ambassadors and members were encouraged to embark on our group activities to help effect the mission and vision of I Love Black People activities in protection against racism and xenophobia. Members and ambassadors were reminded to submit Black-owned and Black-friendly businesses to the group website, which with the format provided in our various groups. We join hands with our brothers and sisters all over the world facing any form of distress and xenophobic attacks and racism, which with encouragement we live hope and love messages. I Love Black People members and family and friends were encouraged to use the emergency button, which is located at the bottom left of the I Love Black People website. We joined the family and friends in our country groups to celebrate and wish each other a happy festive season, as the month of February is declared the month of love. Members who went against the group mission and objective and goals were penalized and informed to stick to the group mission, objective, and goals. Ambassadors and members in the group made time to help all new members with their challenges with the weekly tasks, and we were encouraged to everyone to seek for clarification and assistance when needful. I Love Black People members, old and new, were once again encouraged to stick to the I Love Black People mission to contribute only to fight against racism and xenophobic attack. In our country group, members who were not able to attend the Zoom conference call session on last Saturday were encouraged to do so this time round. Quote of the week: the battle that counts aren't the ones for gold medals. The struggles within yourself, the invisible the inevitable battles inside all of us. That's where it's at. James Cleveland, Jesse Owen, American track and field athlete. That's the quote from James Cleveland. Ghana Weekly COVID-19 update is made available using the link which we are going to share in the groups. Live it, love it, you are Black, we are Black, I am Black because I am because we are. The report was prepared by Zo Owusu, HBE, Patrice Lumumba, Ambassador, I am because we are, I am Elijah Nyabuti from Kenya.
I am because we are. Thank you so much, Brother Elijah Nyabuti, for representing Ghana today. On next, we are going to have our Brother Joel to represent South Africa. Unfortunately, our brother Pato Mosebeti couldn't join us. So, Brother Joel, you can go ahead and present on behalf of South Africa.
Yes, thank you. Thank you very much. On behalf of my brother, who is from South Africa, I present the weekly report from Zambia. Do you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you clearly. You can go ahead.
Okay, thank you. South African weekly report from 6th February 2022 to 12th February 2022. Today is 12th February 2022, weekly report from South Africa. The community had a Zoom meeting where I Love Black People mission was discussed, and we had a class session with Dr. Tyron Wright and Nana Akwas and Sele. Our co-founder Sinclair say in Twitter space that he and his team visited our brothers in Cooper and its environment and encouraged to have meet up in June, July, and August. Africans must start to speak their own official language and to forget the foreign language so as Africa to have their own aid to solve their problem without outside help. And in that, our moderator, Joel Kaingatich, shared Swahili pamphlet to teach colloquial Swahili thanks to Yvonne Dushime, who tell to change or translate shares to group by Swahili. Interferences from outside continent must respect us, and so that others, and to promote the Pan-African project far and wide. Africa will be the greatest continent on earth. We have minerals, as we have arable land, if we respect the unity. On 7th February 2022, our co-founder Sinclair Skinner, Pan-African Twitter space, have a topic of making Pan-African to participate in educational and stop continent of conflict through love, and teach much about protecting Black immigrants from appropriate. Thanks for Pan-Africanists for supporting of descendants of enslaved Africa. Regular newsletter was shared, which highlight on 8 essential categories: education, health, legal, finance, transportation, beauty, food, and accommodation. Announcement was made. Members who had confirmed attendance as a free I Love Black People line event. Next step for getting involved with your help, we are building a global network to help protect Black people from racism and xenophobia. Learn more about our mission. Getting to have a group that was shared, registered our family and friends, be member or an ambassador of I Love Black People to do so in order to bring the continent onto your door. Social media account was shared to group and members was encouraged to follow, like, and comment. Community members and ambassadors was encouraged to attend our online event, which aimed to build global network to help and protect people from racism and xenophobia. COVID-19 outbreak in South Africa. Death, 345. Recoveries, 345,685. Fully vaccinated, 12,103,908. Submitted by Boto Mosepetsi, South African, I am because we are. Amboto. Tanzanian weekly report. I think that
yes, you need to present on Tanzania's report. Unfortunately, but Brother Bato Mosopetsi just joined us. Your report was already presented on by our moderator. I think you can go ahead and present on behalf of Tanzania.
Okay, Tanzania report. Asante kwa ndugu wetu Joseph Luhamba. Yeye amesoma hako na mchani leo, labda wakati ingine ataturuhusu akitupata tukiendelea. Tanzania weekly report from 4 February 2022 to 12 2022. Weekly activity Tanzania. On 5 February 2022, the community had a Zoom meeting where I Love Black People mission was discussed, and we had a class session with Dr. Tyron Wright, Nana Hakwon Sansele. Regular newsletter was shared, which highlight our 8 essential categories: education, health, legal, finance, transportation, beauty, and accommodation. Announcements was made to members who confirmed the attendance as free I Love Black People online and used it for getting involved. With your help, we are building global network to help protect Black people from racism and xenophobia. Register a family and friend to be a member of Ambassador I Love Black People so that in order to bring continent. Our social media account was shared to group. A member was encouraged to do so and follow, like, and comment. Community members, ambassadors were encouraged to attend an online event which aimed to build a global network to help protect Black from racism and xenophobia. NP, we enjoyed March on session, and through this, we are much expatriated online meeting. Thank you, lecturers, moderators. COVID-19 update, Tanzania. Patient, total 78. No vaccinated. Patient 76. Vaccinated 2 patients. Death 3. I am, because we are submitted by Joseph Luhamba from Tanzania.
I thank you, Moderator Joel, for representing on behalf of South Africa and Tanzania. On next, we're going to have our speaker for today's meeting. She's from the United States of America, and her name is Daisy Rose. Daisy, can you introduce yourself? And you can unmute yourself.
Okay, hello. How is everyone?
Yeah, good, thank you. You can introduce
Hope you all
yourself
are fine.
and be into your speech.
Thank you. Okay, so I'm Daisy Ross. I am from the East Coast of the United States by birth, but I'm definitely African by heritage. So I wanted to take a few minutes of your time for all of you to share some things about be one, or what it means to be one, right? So be one means Black first. It's a code that has been introduced into our dialogue. And what it basically suggests is that we should have a code of operating between us. So when we see one another, we have a certain standard of behavior, and that it doesn't matter if you are from Ghana or Ethiopia or Georgia in the United States, right? So let me pull this up. And so the title of my talk today is, what does it mean to be on code? And I hope that we'll be able to define what that means, okay? Are you able to pull up the slides at all?
Yes, let me share.
Okay. So what we're waiting on are just a few little slides, and I'm going to go ahead and begin. Code B1. Firstly, we should understand the reasons why we have been required to recreate a standard of behavior between Africans on the continent and abroad. This standard or code of Pan-African thought is often commonly referred to as B1 or Black First. This code of conduct is not an attempt to bring about a neo-oppressive agenda against non-African groups, but it is a tool by which we can set ourselves in positions to lead the way to our own destinies. Pan-African ideals emerged in the late 19th century in response to European colonization and exploitation of the African continent. Pan-Africanist philosophy held that slavery and colonialism depended on and encouraged negative, unfounded categorizations of the race, culture, and value of African people. This idea had to be so deeply ingrained in the mind of Africans that the infrastructure of all African thought would be centered around an idea of a need to depend on other groups to make decisions for us and in our best interest. That though we may suffer loss, oppression, and abuse under European-centered rule, it is better than living under African rule due to the lie of African insufficiency. This idea taught the African to distrust the African, to hate the African, to cheat the African, and to find fault in the African. Now that this reality has been acknowledged, there are a few enlightened among us who sought ways and means to reconnect. Those such as Kwame Nkrumah, Marcus Mosiah Garvey, and Jomo Kenyatta, to name just 3 out of hundreds, if not more, seem to realize that none but ourselves can free our minds. And without our minds wrapped around the Western world's ideals of civilization, we could truly thrive. The Western ideas of individualism, hedonism, and capitalism, and all other Eurocentrisms have been built upon the pillaging of Africa and her people. So, to use this Western mind as the framework for our ideas of self and success is to be outside of our own minds, out of our minds. So the question now is, what are the solutions? This is where B1 comes into place. We have started to recreate this standard about how we represent ourselves with one another. How can we be drawn back into our right mind? And how can we recognize those of us so inclined to Pan-African thought? So today I present to you a proposition that we can vote on, so to speak. And this is a code of conduct that each of us can agree to utilize in our daily lives to identify and ensure our own behaviors match the principles of Pan-African thought, or being B1 or on code. So let's see what we have here. I wanted to see where we are on the screen. All right, so yeah, Awesome. So first, and I don't know if everybody can unmute or not, but I'm going to read these. I'm going to read the code off for you guys, and if you agree, just type in the comment area, I agree. And if you think something should be added, then type what you think should be added, because we should, at least among us, and I love Black people, at least among us, we should have a standard that we are not only practicing, but then perpetuating in our environment. And this is a way that we can begin the process of establishing a culture among ourselves that protects us ourselves, our way of protecting ourselves, okay? So first, when it comes to business, always seek to buy Black first. If it is available at a Black shop, buy it there if possible. So if you agree, please type I agree in the comments. If you agree to that as our standard, as one of our standards. Thank you. I see we have one who agrees. So if you disagree with this standard, if you could share what we should add or what we should take away. Much thanks, Medase. Much thanks. All right, we're going to continue. Second, Black business owners must provide excellent services to Black people and form cooperatives for the purpose of competitive pricing that meets the demands and budgets of buyers. Black businesses are often left out when it comes to buying power, and this often causes Black businesses to have higher prices. Black business cooperatives need to have clear outlines of expectations and deal with Black businesses only. Asians, Jewish, and other cooperative groups do this practice for the benefit of themselves, as well as to meet the pricing needs of their customers. Do you agree that Black business owners should provide this excellent service to Black people and form cooperatives so that prices can be more competitive? If so, let's see that you agree in the chat. Third, Black businesses must create cooperatives that also supply goods to other Black businesses. These types of organizations tend to be business to business and members only. In my city, there is a humongous warehouse. In that warehouse, they sell incense, they sell fake hair, they sell a lot of other things. And these are things particularly that they're selling to Black people. I could never set foot in that warehouse because I am not a member. And to be a member, you have to be from an Indian country or Indian or Southeast Asian country, Southwest Asian country. So India, Sri Lanka, these places. So this is the practice of exclusion that allows the Indian people in my community to do well economically. They don't care where the person is, as long as where the person is from, as long as that person is from that Southwest Asian area, near and around India. It doesn't matter if that person is one of the quote unquote untouchables, that if they were living in India, they would shun. When they're here in the United States, they are one people. They have buying power and they can uplift themselves economically. This is a practice that we used to have many years ago before colonialization took our minds from us. Some, yeah, we had wars, we had difficulties, and but by and large, when we went into other countries, like the Moors, for instance, we came together for a common purpose. I think we can do it again. Okay. So when we establish these types of cooperatives with members only, we need to be selective about who is a member. And one of the first criteria should be that they are Black, that they originated in an African country, whether or not is last year or whether or not it's 200-300 years ago. Fourth, Black people must learn to live their faith while loving other Black people who may not share the same faith. If your God is as powerful as most of us believe our higher power to be, it should not shake our faith to support, care for, and respect other Black people who have a different perspective on how to obtain spiritual peace as we walk this planet. Keep your higher power at the forefront of your life and let us move together for our common benefit. This doesn't mean forsake your religion. It doesn't mean keep it a secret. It means that it is not in any of our best interest when we want to mandate the spiritual affairs of someone who is not in the same house of knowledge as we are. We can still move together for the common good. So we move in commonality, not in what divides us. If you agree to this one, to the third standard and the fourth standard, please make sure you type "I agree" in the chat. Fifth, identify 3 or more Black youth and begin to pour into them the wealth of knowledge from your professional field, from your knowledge of history, from your life experiences. Support those 3 like a niece or a nephew, and be there as wise counsel and even a parent figure if needed. Show them a positive path without ulterior motives or malice. Do not be afraid to address behaviors that could harm them or our people. And I use the term afraid because in the West, particularly, many older people are afraid to speak to younger people because of the level of distrust that has been put in some of our minds, the old against the young and the young against the old. So let's begin to connect with our youth. If you agree with that, please type "I agree" in the chat. 6, plan to visit an African country like Rwanda, Kenya, Namibia, Ghana, or South Africa. There are many countries in the continent, and whether it be for a short-term plan, like you just want to visit for a week, or whether it be a long-term plan, you have to plan this thing out for years before you go and visit because you want to do something big there. And even if you are continental born, you must get a true perspective on who African people from other countries are and find meaningful ways of connecting for the purpose of fellowship, industry, or education. It's not that I have a young man that I am working with, and his biggest goal, his biggest dream in life is to go to school in the West. My criteria for him, for my help.
Yes, sorry to interrupt. You have 2 minutes to round up. Nana is waiting to start a lecture.
Okay, cool beans.
All right.
So so my whole thing with him is that whatever he does, he goes back and benefits his own communities. 7, read The Miseducation of the Negro by Carter G. Woodson. This book is a must, but also purchase books by John Henrik Clark, Dr. Benyokanan, Sheikh Anta Diop, Asa Hilliard, Ngugi wa Thiong'o, J.A. Rogers, and other serious authors on Pan-African or B1 thought. So you can learn more about how African history impacted, and in many cases, still impacts global history. 8, identify at least one supplier of Black goods. Look for clothing that is made in Ghana or another African country. 9, get a B1 button and wear it. I will share a link in the group where you might be able to find some of these things, but get some kind of emblem that you can wear representing your B1 thought. 10th, buy Black dolls and action figures and books with happy Black main characters for children, and surround the children in your lives with positive images of Black people every day. And these 10 standards are simple ways we can begin to make the needed change to uplift Black people. But there is a bonus standard, an addendum, if you will. If you witness brutality against a Black woman, a disabled person, an elderly person, or a child, as others are recording on their phones, step in and do something, intervene. We must do what we must do to stop wicked people with badges and bandanas from killing Black people by any means necessary. These are my standards. And if you all agree, I hope you type "I agree" in the chat, and any changes, let's share them with one another. And I appreciate the opportunity to speak with you all. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Daisy, for a wonderful speech. We appreciate you. Hopefully, you'll be our guest speech on the future meetings. We appreciate you. On next, we're going to have Nana Akua for today's lecture on healthcare lecture. Yes, Nana Akua, can you hear me?
I can. Good day, everyone.
Our apologies, we took 5 minutes of your time.
It's okay. I'm sorry I missed it. I got on a little late anyway, so very well. Glad to be here. All right. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining us again for our Pan-African Healthcare class. This week in our cycle is week 2, I believe, yes. And we are going to discuss herbs, essential oils, homeopathic remedies, and superfoods. So I want to share the screen, if you will allow me. And let's see if I
Yes, sir, you can share your screen.
can put, yes, yeah, see, I have, wait a minute. I didn't open it though. I'm gonna get this right one day. Open this already. Give me 1 second. Okay, I think I got it. Okay, so hopefully you see herbs here on the screen.
Yes, sir, we can see herbs, traditional and modern uses of common herbs.
Wonderful. All right, wonderful, wonderful. Let me scroll down right quick, see what beautiful faces I can see. Wonderful, I'm seeing some folks. Thank you for, wonderful, wonderful. I see a few people have their cameras on. Greetings to you. I appreciate you. Let me scroll down and catch everyone. Awesome, thank you so much. And I like to be as interactive as possible. So definitely, if throughout the course you have comments or questions, feel free to post them in the chat. All right, wonderful. Greetings, everyone. So I want to talk about, and I've added a little bit, actually added a few new pages to our week 2 packet. So if you have joined us before, I think you'll get some additional information today. And so my goal is to share information that will be helpful to you in regards to healing yourself, healing your family, your community, and of course, spreading the usage of natural holistic healing. And we know from last week, natural healing or holistic health or holistic healing, complementary or alternative therapies, all of these are terms that are interchangeably used to refer to herbal medicine, homeopathic medicine, aromatherapy, chiropractic care, acupuncture, massage therapy, or other types of touch therapies or body work, or it may include breath work or breathing techniques. It may include traditional medicine from, say, a traditional healer like a Sangoma, or it may refer to music therapy. So all types of, and I'm definitely missing nutrition or nutritional consultation or nutritional therapies, and many more, right? And so the goal is to give you an overview and provide you information through these information packets to arm yourself with this knowledge so that you can, you know, stay healthy, operate at an optimal level so that we can address our serious socio-economical, political issues that we face as Black people. So me as a healer, I think our health, our mental, physical, spiritual health is at the core of that. So I usually focus on this handout here, but I have a couple others. So this, of course, is just for your reference, but I have some others that I'd like to speak on. This is a new one. If you've been here before, this is a new handout. This is one that I compiled a while ago. It's not exclusively herbs, but it's predominantly herbs. But this is what I feel, in my humble opinion, what everyone should have in their medicine cabinet. We should all establish a natural medicine chest, okay? And this is just sort of some of my favorite herbs and or supplements. And these are things that I feel we all should have on hand because they address a number of issues that may arise, okay? So let's just quickly go over this. And again, the first 2 pages kind of give you an overview of different herbs and what they do. And for different reasons, I have listed or highlighted some that are here. So ginger is the first one on the list here. And you know what? I don't know if this is the first one I want to go over. Let me hold tight. Let me go over this one first, right? So that you'll have in front of you the explanations for them, okay? So this handout I also compiled many years ago, right? And basically herbal medicine is defined as, let me see if I can make this a little larger. All right. Herbal medicine is defined as medicinal use of herb, plants, and trees to regain or maintain health. Herbs are used to cleanse, detoxify, rebuild, and tone in order to bring the body back into balance. Mother Nature should be appreciated not only for her beauty, but also for her valuable resources of wild foods and medicine. These wonderful cures from the earth are often neglected and underrated. One should always attempt to heal themselves naturally before even considering unnatural or artificial means. There are herbal cures for nearly every dis-ease or illness known to man. And here is a list of herbs that every household should contain. We should have these herbs such as valerian and ginger on hand, just as we do aspirin and Alka-Seltzer. Better yet, we should have herbs and natural supplements instead of these man-made items. They should really be replaced altogether. This writing will help you start to make that transition. So below are some common, easy to find or make herbals to have on hand for common everyday health complaints. So the first one here is ginger. And the reason we would add ginger is because it cleanses the colon, reduces spasms and cramps, stimulates circulation. It's a strong antioxidant and effective microbial agent. It's good for sores, for wounds. It's good for bowel disorders, circulatory problems, hot flashes, indigestion, nausea, vomiting. You can use it in capsule form or tea. You can also have it in tincture or extract, okay? Valerian, this improves circulation and acts as a sedative. It reduces mucus from colds. It's good for anxiety. It's good for fatigue, high blood pressure, insomnia, irritable bowel syndrome, menstrual cramps, muscle cramps, nervousness, pain, spasms. It's excellent overall. Valerian is not one that you're going to want to use in tea because it has a very strong taste and smell. I would recommend this one in capsules. Cayenne is next on the list. This aids in digestion. It improves circulation. It stops bleeding from ulcers. It's good for the heart, lungs, kidneys, pancreas, spleen, stomach. It's excellent for arthritis and rheumatism. This is also good for warding off colds, sinus infections, and sore throats. You will use this one in capsule form. You may, in some cases, want to use the extract or tincture form if you're maybe adding it to, say, the master cleanse with your lemon and your agave nectar. It used to be maple syrup. I suggest, or I use agave nectar. So you may use it in maybe an extract or tincture form if you are adding it to another liquid to dilute it a bit because it is hot pepper. Garlic is next on this list. This detoxifies the body and protects against infection by enhancing immune function. It lowers blood pressure, improves circulation. It's good for arteriosclerosis, arthritis, asthma, cancer, circulatory problems, cold, flu, virtually any disease and infection. You can use it raw in your cooking, or you can use it raw in terms of just ingesting it. Some people will mash the cloves up and either add them to a little bit of water or some other liquid and just drink it. Some people will add it into their juices, their raw juices. But of course, you know, you can add it to your foods. And of course, you can also buy it in tablet form. If you're concerned about the odor, of course, you can even get the odorless tablets. Rosemary, this fights bacteria, relaxes the stomach, stimulates circulation and digestion. It's a good astringent and decongestant. It's also good for headaches, high blood pressure, circulatory problems, menstrual cramps. This one you can use in tea or capsule form, or if you have the liquid extract, it's also very good. Charcoal is technically not an herb, but it is plant-based. This is great for removing toxic substances from the colon and the bloodstream. So it's useful for gas, upset stomach, food poisoning, diarrhea. It's an antidote for nearly all poisons. Even Western or allopathic medicine knows this and uses this, even if you go to the ER for food poisoning. This is one of those supplements I always travel with because you never know when you're going to come in contact with something that is toxic to your body. Even if locally the residents eat or consume certain foods or drink, not everybody can do that. So if you come in contact with something that is not in agreement with your body, charcoal is excellent to have on hand. Next is aloe vera. You know that we can apply this topically for burns, for wounds, but it can also be taken internally. So it helps cell regeneration if there is a topical wound or burn. It acts as an astringent, an emollient, an antifungal, antibacterial, and antiviral. Internally, it soothes the stomach, aids in healing, and has laxative properties. So if you are having trouble with bowel movements or regularity in your bowel movements, this is a laxative that can heal the body from the inside out. It's also good for AIDS. It's good for skin and digestive disorders. You can use it in the actual gel itself, straight from the plant. or the actual juice of the plant. I would say steer clear of aloe vera drinks, because there are many companies now that are doing aloe drinks. These are not 100% juice, and that is what we want. If we're looking for the healing and health benefit of aloe, we want pure 100% aloe juice, not a juice, not a drink. Elder is next. This builds the blood, cleanses the system, eases constipation, enhances your immune function, fights inflammation. It's good for perspiration, lowers fever, good for the respiratory tract, and stimulates circulation. Elderberry, you can of course use in tea form. Extract, of course, also is a popular herb for cough syrup, so you can make a syrup of the elderberry as well. Peppermint, it enhances digestion and increases your stomach acidity. It's useful for chills, colic, diarrhea, headache, heart trouble, indigestion, nausea, spasms, and several other things. It's good in tea form. You can also, if you have a food grade or therapeutic grade essential oil, you can add the essential oil to your water in your drinks or your teas. Echinacea and golden seal, I've listed here together, even though these are, of course, two different herbs, but they work really well and complement each other well. So let's just talk about them each individually. Echinacea is an anti-inflammatory and antiviral. It's good for boosting the immune system and the lymphatic system. It's good for colic, colds, flu, other infectious diseases or illnesses. Also helpful for snake bite. Golden seal acts as an antibiotic. So it cleanses the body, it increases the effectiveness of insulin, it strengthens the immune system, promotes the functioning capacity of the colon, the liver, the pancreas, the spleens, and the lymphatic and respiratory systems. It also clears excess mucus from the body. It counters infection, improves digestion, and so many other things. So both of these are powerhouse herbs. If you need any specific thing that either of these may do, use them separately. But if you're doing it to boost your immune system and just overall health and wellness, a combination of echinacea and golden seal is great. And tincture or extract form or capsule form is what I think the best, but you can also, of course, do the teas. Golden seal is another one of those kind of bitter herbs, so it's not the greatest taste, definitely not the worst tasting herb, but you may want to do it in capsule form or extract. Lavender relieves stress. It's good for depression. It's good for skin care, whether it's a burn or other wounds on the skin. Lavender is also good for headaches, psoriasis, and skin problems. You can use the essential oil. You can also drink the tea itself. So there are a couple of ways in which you might use lavender. Skullcap. This aids in sleep, improves circulation, strengthens the heart muscle, is good for anxiety, headache, hyperactivity, nervous disorders, and anything that is related to the nervous system. It's a sedative or nervine herb. It's also good for treating certain types of drug addictions and withdrawals from it. Tincture or extract form or capsule is probably best if you're just simply doing it to kind of calm down and get some relaxation. Tea form is also good. Nettle, one of my favorite herbs, is a diuretic. It's an expectorant, it's a pain reliever, and a tonic. This contains vital minerals, so it's really high in iron, calcium, and other minerals. It's good for anemia, arthritis, hay fever, and allergic disorders, kidney problems, goiter health, inflammation issues, mucus conditions of the lungs, and tea, and I would really say capsule form or extract form is going to be the best option for nettle. Again, if you're just doing it just to increase or improve health overall, tea is fine, but if you're treating any of these conditions, capsule form or extract form is going to be best. Crainsville is the last one listed on this list. This is an astringent herb. It affects the stomach, the intestines, the liver, and the heart. It's useful for diarrhea, colitis, dysentery, especially associated with bleeding. And it's good for internal bleeding. So if there are bleeding issues internally or externally, Crainsville is excellent, which is why it made my list here. So it's excellent for stopping bleeding, but it also helps heal the skin from burns or torn flesh or other abrasions or cuts or wounds on the skin. Can even be used as a vaginal douche or certain discharge and imbalances in the vagina. So this list here, just sort of a start to creating your medicine cabinet and knowing what different herbs do. This is sort of my response to what herbs should I get, right? So there are many, many other herbs that you'll take to, but if you don't know where to start, I think this is I wanted to note as an avid gardener and hope to be an actual farmer someday, I always recommend growing herbs. So even of this list, in addition to this list, the ones I mentioned like rosemary and lavender and peppermint, these are very easy to grow. I suggest growing them. You can start them from seeds or seedlings, the little baby plants. You can buy them already kind of into semi-mature or growing plants from a nursery. But I recommend growing them whether in the spring and summer outside or year-round inside in pots. But this is just a really good way to control your food and medicine availability. You know, I'm an avid supporter of farmers, personal farmers or family farmers or gardeners who grow their own food and herbs. This kind of takes back your power so that you can at least control some of the things that you may need for your diet. This handout here, so maybe I now will go back to the medicine chest. So we've explained what most of these that are on this list do. And so these are some of the things already listed as to what you should have in your natural medicine chest. So ginger, we've talked about. White willow bark is not on that previous list. Both of these lists I made but some years between each other, right? But white willow bark didn't make that first list, but white willow bark is a natural pain reliever. So a lot of people have pain. We have different types of pain depending on our stress level, our work, other physical conditions or illnesses that we have. But pain is a major, major issue. And I have a handout specifically on natural pain relievers. But white willow bark is one of those top on the list for helping with pain. Valerian we've talked about. Hops, lemon balm, kava kava, these are all sedative or nervine herbs. These are herbs that will help you calm down, help you get sleep, help you deal with stress, help you deal with anxiety. The rescue remedy or multi-flower remedy, these are flower remedies or flower essences. We talk about flower essences next week in our stress release course, where we talk about managing and balancing the emotions. So rescue remedy is a tincture or extract of 5 flower essences that help deal with emotionally upsetting or traumatic events. So we'll talk more about that next week. The multi-flower is a combination of all of the 38 English flower remedies that just balance the emotions. Peppermint we've talked about. Activated charcoal was on the list. Aloe vera was on the list. Colloidal silver is a natural antibiotic. It is ionized silver, which helps boost the immune system. It helps to fight infection, whether it's bacteria, whether it's virus, whether it's fungus, parasites. It's a immune boosting, infection fighting substance that I think everyone should have. And I think you should have it in 500 parts per million. Most times you will find it in 10 parts per million or 50 parts per million. If you have that and you have children, that's what I would give my children. But if you are an adult and needing to boost your immune system or fight off infection, 500 parts per million is the dosing. Emergency packets or children's emergency packets, these are basically packets of powdered vitamin C that also includes electrolytes or trace minerals. So these are excellent if you have overexerted yourself and lost a lot of fluids from either sweating or from diarrhea or from vomiting, or you just simply need extra vitamin C because of the environment or because of possible exposure to elements that can cause disease. So emergency is not on that previous list, but this is something I suggest having on hand in your home. And then a homeopathic urgent care kit or a 50 remedy kit. So next we're going to talk about some of the homeopathic remedies, but you can buy these kits that have a number of remedies for a number of conditions that you may have. This is good to have on hand just in case you need to address a condition. And usually a 50 remedy kit, they all come with a explanation of what each of the remedies do and how you use them. And so it's good to have on hand for whatever issue arises, whether it's a ear infection or a cough or cold, or whether it's joint pain, or whether it's pink eye or whatever, you name it. These remedy kits will have what you need. So that's good to have on hand. This handout here is a handout on herbal first aid remedies. So this one is good. I won't go over each of these, but I wanted to include this in the packet so that you will know, again, and this is just another list. A lot of times people don't know where to start, what things to get. If you read through any of these and you're like, okay, I sometimes get this issue or have this issue, or my children suffer with this, or my father or my mother or someone close to me suffers with some of these issues, it's good to just have these herbal remedies on hand. This handout here specifies herbs that are excellent for different issues that you will find in your kitchen cabinet, right? So these are what we call culinary herbs. So we know that we use them for cooking, for seasoning our food, but they also have health benefits. Some of these we've already discussed, like the garlic and the ginger, and the rosemary, but know that several other seasonings, spices that we use for food also have healing benefits. One of the underrated ones here is basil. This is good for gas. It soothes stomach upset. Also strengthens the hair. I use it in my hair products. Fennel is another one that's probably underrated. This is good for bad breath and body odor. But it's also good, a good cleansing, refreshing bath in spiritual baths, or herb to use in spiritual baths, and just so many of them. Dill is excellent for heartburn, for colic and gas. And what you'll find with most culinary herbs or cooking herbs is these are herbs that will typically aid in digestion. And this is why we want to use these foods in our, these herbs or these foods in our cooking, because they will assist in the digestion of your meals. So this handout, I pulled out, so my traditional, what do I call it? Traditional herbal class. I know I'm messing my name up and I created it. I think I call it traditional herbal class, herbal course, or what have you. I basically talk about herbs from different parts of the world. And because we have a lot of brothers and sisters from the continent, I wanted to pull out the African herbs. Now, this may not hit exactly where you are located, because what I often just try to do is pull out the information or handouts that kind of list out things very clearly, even though we know that locally and for traditional healers, there are many, many other herbs that are used to heal the body. But when you're teaching or instructing, you want to be able to reference something. You want to be able to have handouts and such. So these two handouts that I have, one is from South Africa and one is from West Africa, that cover, of course, so these cover different countries. But I wanted to highlight these herbs because week after week, I will get emails or questions about some of the herbs that I highlight, because you may not be able to find them where you are, right? So I wanted to make sure we highlight ones that definitely are on the continent, still may not be in your area, but may be more likely for you to obtain. Okay, so this handout talked about the 5 top West African healing plants and herbal remedies. And we've discussed a couple of these. Oh, did I just pass? I think I passed ginger, but we've discussed ginger, right? So ginger, I think, was on this first page. And I must have them out of order because now I'm at number 2 and I didn't see number 1. I think ginger, oh, aloe. So aloe is first listed. We talked about aloe, but I wanted to point out that, of course, you know this grows in a lot of places. So this one is easy to find. We've talked about what aloe does. Neem is another one. We know that originally it was indigenous to India, but it's migrated to many parts of the continent. And so we know that this is excellent for warding off mosquitoes, just in terms of the overall environment. But we know that also it heals the hair and the skin. We also know it has an impact on certain tropical fevers when taking it as a tea, or you may even bathe in it to help heal certain tropical fevers, because it wards off different types of disease-causing microorganisms, right? So drinking it as a tea, bathing in it, using it topically for hair and skin. These are all options for neem. And someone could probably help me with the pronunciation of this one, especially if you are from Mali or Senegal or the Gambia or Burkina Faso. But Kinkeliba, right, is listed here, and it's considered like a tonic herb. So this one is one of those that we would drink for vitality, right? So tonic herbs usually refer to herbs that basically strengthen your overall constitution. They increase your well-being and longevity. So this one, in addition to being a tonic, also helps to improve digestion and elimination, right? So this one we know is good for the whole gastrointestinal tract. The baobab tree produces oil and the nuts or seeds from it. A lot of people just use, for jewelry and things, you can use certain parts of the tree, but this handout focuses on the oil, as it helps to maintain collagen levels in the skin, which means there are less fine lines. So it's used as a beauty treatment. You may mix it with cocoa butter, shea butter, essential oils, and things like that. And I'm sure other folk will have maybe other uses for it locally. Lemongrass is another herb that you can find throughout West Africa. And we often use it here too. Some people just use it as a perfume because they love the fragrance. But we know that this is an herb that's good for fevers. It's good for general weakness, for stomach aches. It wards off mosquitoes and other insects. And it's also considered a tonic herb. So it's good for overall vitality and longevity. And it has some other things here. Also buchu. Now buchu is also, it's also common here, and the Native Americans often use buchu as well. But we know that buchu is found, and I think I've moved to Southern region, right? These are South African. Yeah, so these come from, I know when it said Western Cape. Okay, so in South Africa, you can easily find buchu. It's also found here, but this is an herb that's good for the kidneys and the bladder. So buchu is an anti-inflammatory, it's an antiseptic herb. It's good for high blood pressure, urinary tract infections, arthritis, gout, and countless other ailments. Also, devil's claw is also a good herb that you can find. It's usually used for like pain. It enhances mobility, improves your range of motion when you have any kind of movement issues. It's good for diabetes, headaches, menstrual problems. And then African potato. Oh no, I must have lost place. African potato is like an immune booster. So it's been used for a lot of serious acute issues like cancer and AIDS and HIV. But clearly I have it out of order. So now we've gone to the next handout. But let me see if I can find so I got them out of order, but African potato, it is known for, yes, its immune boosting properties, and is reputed for its effectiveness in cancer, TB, HIV and AIDS, and asthma. And this little handout on turmeric is a little out of place. So we're gonna ignore it for a second. And I think geranium, Oh yeah, so there it is. South African geranium is another herb, which is basically a good natural healing herb. It is used in tincture form or herbal infusions. It's an antibacterial, antiviral herb that has good effects on chronic respiratory tract infections, such as bronchitis, sore throat, sinusitis, colds and flu, and it's usually easily found. African ginger, we talked about that. And then I also wanted to highlight some of the common Chinese herbs. I don't think I have time to go over it, but I wanted to include this in your packet so that you would have access to this information. So I didn't want to just pull the handouts. It was multiple pages, but now I have a means of scanning in everything. But initially I had to do it by hand. So some of the handouts that were more lengthy, I didn't originally include. I also included a packet of Ayurvedic herbs that, see my little notes there, so you'll have access to that. But then I also included a packet of information of herbs that are native to India, okay? These are called, so India, its most popular form of herbal medicine or traditional herbal medicine is called Ayurveda, or Ayurvedic herbs. So these handouts or these pages also list some of the herbs that are indigenous to India, okay? So again, I won't go over these because I do want to get to some of the other things, superfoods and homeopathics and essential oils and such, right? But as an herbalist, I couldn't resist. So I've included a lot of information here about herbs, but I really strongly encourage you to utilize herbs. This is the pain killing handout that I mentioned earlier. So again, pain is a big issue. This gives you natural painkillers. Some are foods, some are herbs. And yet another one, I think most of these, yeah, some of these are foods, and some are the same as the other handout, but I couldn't pick between the two. I could think one had a couple that the other one didn't. But again, based on whatever the pain is, know that there's a natural remedy, and you want to include these things in your diet and take in supplementation form as well. This handout here talks about the safety of herbs, even talks about based on your size, how to take or how much to take of herbs. So I wanted to include this in the packet as well. So how to use them, how they're administered, what the dosing is based on your weight. I think that's here, yeah. So even the recommended or traditionally used guidelines for giving herbs to children is listed here. So this was a handout that I wanted to include as well. Okay, so homeopathics. Homeopathic remedies are remedies that are natural occurring or based from natural occurring substances, but not all are plants. Some are minerals, some are from even insects, but they are naturally occurring substances that are used for healing, but they may not be plant-based. Now, the first ones on this list are plant-based, but not all are. But the one thing I want to mention about homeopathics, homeopathic remedies are used a little different from herbs. We talked about how to use the herbs, tea form, capsule form, tinctures or extracts. We know that we can use some topically, we can put them in baths and that sort of thing. Homeopathics are a little different because they are derived a different way. They are made with natural occurring substances, but they are usually made in either tablets, pellets, or in liquid form. And the way that you take the homeopathics is what we call sublingually, meaning you put the drops or you put the pills or the tablets or the pellets under your tongue, and you allow it to dissolve and then absorb into the bloodstream through the mucous membranes in your mouth. So with that, we know that we have to be careful then about what we've just put in our mouths or what we put in our mouths right afterwards, so that it does not interfere with the absorption process. So homeopathics, you have to take those things into account and can be a little, a little inconvenient in some cases to consider all of those things, but well worth it, because some people are just better suited for herb remedies. Some people are better suited for homeopathic remedies. Homeopathics tend to work best when you have sort of an acute issue that you need to get relief from sort of immediately, because the way you take homeopathics is you take small dosings multiple times over a short period of time so that you get the benefit, right? So we know that you may take 3 to 5 little pellets or tablets every 15 minutes until symptoms subside, right? And you may do that for a couple of hours. So in a lot of cases where there's acute pain or an acute flare-up, you know, you have conjunctivitis or, you know, pink eye, and you're really itchy and irritated. So you're going to take those remedies every 15 minutes, or you think you've come into contact with something that has given you some allergic reaction. You're going to be able to take those kind of micro doses multiple times over the course of a couple of hours, and you'll get good results. So it can just be where you have to be a little more disciplined, but I highly recommend homeopathics. As an herbalist, I've been an herbalist much longer than I've been a mother. However, my children seem to take better to homeopathic remedies. So that's just how it is. And even, you know, 19 years ago, 18 years ago, I had to really get back into my studies of homeopathy to really, you know, broaden my comfort level and my, you know, comfort zone with that to get the right remedy for my child. So don't discount homeopathy, because you might have to take a few things into account. They're really, really effective. So some of the top 10 from this handout you'll see is allium. It's the first one. This is based from onions, right? So this is good for your cold symptoms, things that will give you watery eyes, runny nose, things like that. Cold, flu, etc. Arnica comes from an herb, the mountain daisy. This is good for like shock or trauma or injuries from like sports or some kind of accident. You can have the topical version as well. Chamomilla comes from the herb chamomile. So we know this is a sedative. A lot of times it's used for infants for teething and irritability from colic and other things. But of course, adults can use it as well because it kind of helps calm you down. Hypericum comes from the herb St. John's wort. And so this is good for any kind of nerve pain or any part of the body, fingers, toes, back, what have you. This is an excellent remedy for that, among other things. Ignatia comes from the St. Agnes bean. So this is a plant-based remedy as well. And this one is used usually for psychiatric issues. So if someone is dealing with acute grief, anxiety, depression, especially after the death or separation of a loved one, Ignatia is commonly used for that. Magnesia phosphorica, this comes from the mineral phosphate. This is used for menstrual cramps, other spasm pain, back cramps, leg cramps, things of that nature. So this really helps to calm the muscles and relax it so that it doesn't spasm. Nux vomica comes from, it's not literally poison nut, but this is a plant called poison nut. And this is good for people who've overexerted themselves with the drinking or overindulge. So it's good for hangovers, but also any situation where you feel nauseous or there's vomiting, right? Or even if there's the need to vomit or to release or purge, right? This is going to help bring the body into balance and do what it needs to do to either calm the nausea and vomiting, or in some cases, people have taken it and been able to expel what they need to release. Pulsatilla comes from the wild windflower. This is good for I always get tickled when I read this, because of course they act like children and women are the only ones that could need this remedy. But this is usually for people who are in a high emotional state. So if you need to kind of calm your mind, if you kind of need the person to kind of yield or back down, change their emotional state. It's good for people who have a strong tendency to please others. But pulsatilla is the remedy for that. Rustox comes from the poison ivy plant, but and just like the and so the premise behind homeopathy is what causes an issue, and the right dosage will also cure or heal that issue. So this, of course, you can probably guess, treats people who have received or come in contact with poison ivy. So it will relieve the symptoms of that, along with other conditions that deal with pain and inability to move and sort of that sort of thing. Most commonly, rustox is used though for poison ivy. This handout, again, I won't go over it, but just like the herbal first aid kit that I have in previous pages, this is a natural first aid kit giving you homeopathic remedies for different issues that may arise, okay? Now, the aromatherapy, we know that aromatherapy is basically the use of essential oils to heal the body. It may be the aroma itself, the scent or smell of the oils that are healing, or it may be adding those essential oils to different health and beauty products to heal the body, the skin, in conjunction with the mind. So we know that we may use it in massage oils, or enhancing massage oils. We may use it in spray misters to spray about to improve mood, or just the aroma in a space. We may use it in our baths. We may use it in a diffuser. We may use it in hair and skin products. And we may use it in love potions or to increase our libido and our sex drive. So there are some that have aphrodisiac properties. We know that if we're using it directly on the skin, we need to have what's called a carrier oil that it's in, because essential oils are very potent. They have been extracted directly from the flowering part of the plant, but it is highly potentized. So it has to be diluted. So a common carrier oil has to be used to make sure you do not have a strong reaction or skin reaction to it. You may use things like hazelnut, almond, grapeseed, olive, sesame, apricot, avocado. I would strike this canola. I would not use canola oil as my carrier oil. I wouldn't use canola oil as anything. But these are some of the carrier oils that you may add a few drops of your essential oils into, okay? And so I listed here some of the, or have listed here some of the essential oils and what they do. We're kind of out of time, so I won't go over these, but I encourage people to go beyond lavender oil and peppermint oil and learn some of the other essential oils and some of the benefits that they have. So this is your handout on essential oils. I also included, and this is a newer one, but I also included another handout on essential oils. Again, this is just for your reference. It kind of gives it based on condition. So some are for alertness, relaxation, cleaning, detox. So this just gives you an idea, sort of a quick cheat sheet as to when or how to use the essential oils, okay? And then superfoods, I think is probably one of the last things, and then I'll try to get to the questions. Superfoods are just that. These are super nutritious foods that you should add to your diet. These are usually packed, or not usually, these are foods that are packed with a number of nutrients, vitamins and minerals that you need for the body. And actually not even just, and we learned last week, so not even just your micronutrients of the vitamins and minerals, but also macronutrients. So some will even contain the proteins and healthy fats and such that you need in your diet as well. And so there are two lists here. One list gives you sort of the common superfoods that are regular foods that you will eat. And then the other list has common seeds and powders that you can add to like smoothies and cereals and things like that. So almonds, broccoli rabi, avocados, raw milk, wheatgrass, salmon, flax seeds, blueberries, cinnamon, and I think sweet potatoes, yeah. And there's a write-up on what each of these things provides to the body as to why they're considered superfoods. And then of course you have here again, the other seeds, berries, powders that you can also add to, you know, your fruit parfaits or your smoothies and things like that. Acai berries, wolfberries, goji berries, seaweed, things of that nature, okay? Chia seeds, I think maca is on this list, mango, oh no.
All right. On next, we're going to have Dr. Tyreen Wright on today's lecture. Yes, Dr. Wright, can you hear me?
Yes, I'm here. And luckily I'm here early. Yes, I got you. Okay, so you'll see me momentarily. Our session, I don't know what just happened.
Yeah, I think she just lost her internet.
But
Yeah.
I guess no.
Yeah, Nana Akua just lost her net.
Issues there, but we're going to start the Pan-African history and ideological development course. I'm just getting my camera on. I wasn't expecting that.
Yeah.
So no problem.
All right.
So hello, everyone. If you can see me, so I'm just gonna mount my camera. I think she lost connection briefly. First, it's uninterrupted. Hello, everyone. Hi. Last year, an abbreviated synopsis. But today, what I want to go over is the actual syllabus and what we will be covering in terms of the course, outcomes and expectations and things of that nature, just to reiterate that and sort of that is already on the syllabus. In addition to that, we'll cover really quickly
Yes, Dr. Wright, we can't hear you. Hello, Dr. Wright. Unfortunately, we can't hear you, Dr. Wright. Let me try again. Nana Akua is back.
Okay, sorry about that.
All right.
I'm gonna get me a new laptop. It just will cut off completely without warning. And I know Dr. Wright was trying to fill in, but since she wasn't ready, I'll take these last 5 minutes. Sorry for that interruption. So I was just simply going through the superfoods, but basically you want to include those foods just to increase your nutrients that you're getting into the body. And so that means I lost all of the questions though. Oh, when you go out and come back in, I don't have access to the questions. So I was gonna try to answer some of the questions or respond to some of the remarks. I know that there were some listed here. So what I'll do is just put in my email, unless Award you wanna see if there was some questions that can be read quickly and I respond, but that may not be.
All right, there are a few questions. Okay, I can see someone was saying, I love the teaching, thank you, but sorry for joining late. Yeah, there are no questions actually.
Okay. That's fine. So some were comments, I suppose. So I've put my email address. So as usual, if you do not have the packet, or if you're not in the WhatsApp group, you can email me and I'll forward you the packet, because there are some new handouts that I've included. So even if previously you've gotten a packet, if you want to send me your request for the handouts, I'll simply provide those to you. And so I know I rushed through the last section, but I wanted to just stress the importance of utilizing all the natural healing, remedies that are available. So I know I spent a lot of time with the herbs, but I think far and wide, depending on wherever we are, or no matter where we are, you'll be able to access those maybe a little easier than the homeopathic remedies and the essential oils even. So it may not be all of the herbs that are listed in the packet, but you'll surely be able to access those probably a little easier than some of the other things we've talked about. And I liked adding, and I always add the superfoods in, because we know that some of these foods are also available throughout the world, even if not all of them are easily or readily available. So next week, we'll talk about stress release, relaxation techniques, things of that nature. And so I've added in a lot of handouts on breathing exercises. I've actually given the printouts about that, and you'll have multiple conscious breathing exercises to follow. We'll probably do a different one than what we've done in the past, so that you'll have that information so that you can employ those techniques. And so that's where we're going with it. And then we know our last week is about detoxification. I've also been able to add additional handouts on detoxing all of the paths of elimination. So I hope you got something out of the talk today about herbs, about homeopathic remedies, about essential oils, and about superfoods. And I hope you'll find a way to incorporate those as part of your healing regimen, so that you can be at your best and most optimal shape, not only mentally, physically, or emotionally, but also spiritually. So, and and a couple of people have inquired, I do not do individual consultations anymore. I see a comment that just popped up, and I've had people request this via my email. I do not do consultations. I only provide information for educational purposes, so that you at least will have the information, and then you can further pursue it on your own, or find a practitioner that is currently practicing holistic wellness or holistic medicine, and you'll at least be familiar, and you'll have a place to kind of guide them if you need further, assistance with that. Okay. I appreciate, the request and the interest in doing so, but I live in the state of Maryland. I'm not allowed to do that anymore. So I have to follow the laws of the land. And so that's kind of where we are with that. So, but I appreciate you wanting, that information, but I can only provide information through these talks and other, talks similar to these. Okay. So as always, thanks for joining us, and I bid you good health and peace.
Thank you so much, Nana Akua, for a wonderful lecture. Enjoy the rest of your weekend.
Thank you.
Right. On next, we're going to have Dr. Tyreen Wright to continue with the Pan-African organizing class. Yes, Dr. Tyreen Wright, can you hear me?
Yes, I'm here.
Yes.
Can you delete? Okay, so we're getting hacked, it looked like. You see you see someone in the comments?
Yeah, let me just get hold of him.
Yeah, no problem.
Okay.
Anyway, so yeah, we have a lot of people who are how would you say, what do you call it? Hacking us. Yeah. I don't know how they got into here, but anyway. So it sort of confirms my suspicion that like we probably just got hacked, like while we got cut off and all of that. Because just as I logged in, I get cut off.
I will ask
So,
no one in this meeting after removing these people who are disturbing us in the comment section.
say it again.
I will not accept anyone after removing these people who are disturbing us in the comment section.
Oh, okay, no problem.
All right.
So to continue, sorry about that. I don't know what happened on my end either. So it seems like we just both got knocked out somehow. That being said, we're going to start with Booker T. Washington, Pan-Africanism and Pan-Africanist, the first chapter, and not the first chapter, but it's actually the second chapter in this book, and I'll show you the cover of the book. This is the cover of the book. However, I'm sharing several chapters of the book here in the group. And so that being said, I will, you don't have to worry about providing the resources or anything like that. So just to get right to it, I will go into our syllabus that I'm going to share, just in case those of you who are following along cannot see the syllabus in the WhatsApp group. So if you're not already in the group for the course or registered for the course officially, then I don't know what's happening. I don't see myself anymore, but anyway, if you're not, okay, here we go. If you're not officially in the group or in the course, then I'm going to share it here just so people can get some visual of the course requirements that we have and the expected outcomes. Okay, so just one moment, take myself off a camera. And then if you give me permission to share my screen, I will.
Yes, Dr. Terry, right, you can go ahead and share. I've removed those people who were trying to.
Okay, no problem. One moment. So I'm going to be sharing the syllabus. You should see the syllabus has the dates plugged in and all the materials that we'll be using. As I said last weekend, will be distributed via our WhatsApp group in PDF format. Okay, so I'm just about to share my screen and bring that up. There's a lot of dialogue in our course, so that's good. All our courses. So we should have a lot of lively discussion. 1 second, it's taking me a second to get back up to it. I do want to know one thing though from the participants in the course. How did you learn about the course? I'm curious to find that out. So write that in the chat for me, those of you who are still with us. How did you find out about this course with I Love Black People? Further back than I expected. Okay. Write it in the chat. Okay, here we go. Okay, so we also had a film this week that you should have started with, which was The Journey of Man, a Genetic Odyssey. So that also should have been part of your materials that you covered. I felt like I bombarded everyone with those materials, but let's see, hopefully not. Okay. All right, I don't see the syllabus there. I don't know why I don't see the syllabus. All right, for some reason, I don't see the syllabus. So let me just jump, I'll go right back to it, but I wanna move things along since we lost a lot of time today. So first things first, I'll share the chapter. Okay, here we go. So I'm going to share the first chapter that we're reading together. And then I'll come back to the syllabus because for some reason I haven't been able to pull the syllabus up. So it looks like in 14A, you might not actually see the 14B, you might not see the syllabus because that's the actual one I'm in right now. But that being said, can you see the screen, my screen with the chapter there? Can everybody see the screen? Can somebody give me a verbal confirmation that you see the chapter that we're talking about? Really quickly, it's called Booker T. Washington in Africa, the Making of Pan-Africanist. And this is the second chapter in the book, which covers the history of Pan-Africanism. Say it again?
Yes, we can see your screen.
Okay, yeah, right. I finally switched over to the chat and I could see that.
Right.
Okay, so the history of Pan-Africanism is covered in this chapter, and it's a very good foundational context in the sense that there are a lot of texts you can read that may or may not accurately depict the history and a really global history in terms of Pan-Africanism, and I think that's extremely important. So the chapter is framed here. It says, there is, however, a tie which few white men can understand, which binds the American Negro to the African Negro, which unites the Black man of Brazil and the Black man of Liberia, which is constantly drawing into closer relations all the scattered African peoples, whether they are in the old world or the new. I have rarely met in America anyone of my race who did not in one way or another show a deep interest in everything connected with Africa. The millions of Negroes in America are almost as much interested, for example, in the future of Liberia and Abyssinia as they are in their own country. There is always a peculiar and scarcely definable bond that binds one Black man to another Black man, whether in Africa, Jamaica, Haiti, or the United States. And that was written by Booker T. Washington. The great thing about this book here is you can scroll down to the bottom of the page and find out the citation. And that quote actually came from The Story of the Negro, The Rise of the Race of Slavery, a book written by Booker T. Washington at 1900, but published in 1909. And it really sums up his very Pan-Africanist thinking about the global African community, the Black community, and how we relate to each other. That being said, this frames the chapter because the emergence of Pan-Africanism as a concept is something that is very much a global African phenomenon, meaning that it is part and parcel of the African and Black experience in the diaspora, on the continent, in various locales, okay? Born really first out of the Caribbean, where you have people like Henry Sylvester Williams conceptualizing it and sharing that concept with the rest of the world, right? And so this chapter covers that history, which is precisely why I use it. I'm unsure why I'm not seeing the syllabus posted in here. So I'm gonna repost the syllabus, of course, for the course, but I'm also gonna read some things for you. So that's just a side note. I digress. Let me just bring that up. Okay, so So this chapter highlights that particular history, and that is precisely why I use it, okay? Because of the simple fact that it shows how it was a collective endeavor by African people globally, and not just the aspirations of African people on the African continent or the diaspora. It was very much a collective effort. Pan-Africanism will find its highest expression on the African continent, but it no doubt is born in the diaspora and is a shared sentiment by many African people who have unfortunately been scattered abroad. Okay, so I'm just going to recap some highlights in here. Henry Sylvester Williams, who was the Secretary of the African Association, is the person who would come up with this idea of the first Pan-African Conference, and he would coin the phrase Pan-Africanism, okay? And so if you read the whole chapter, and you will see that this particular period in history is recounted here. And it basically bumps up against this constant conversation with Booker T. Washington, who is a very unlikely figure, but don't get caught up on that, okay? That being said, you see here, this is covered, right? So it is with this level of developing consciousness that Booker T. Washington engaged the world, right? Shortly after the turn of the 20th century, he was formally exposed to the philosophy of Pan-Africanism, much in the same way as the rest of the world, through the coining of the phrase by the Secretary of the African Association, Henry Sylvester Williams. On behalf of the African Association, Williams wrote to Booker T. Washington for the first time in September of 1898 to solicit his support in their efforts to organize for the benefit of African people. He extended membership to Washington, enlisting his assistance in promoting the organization in the US. He wrote, "I take it you are alive to the necessity of a general union amongst the children and descendants of Ham." Now, if you guys are into biblical history, you know that according to them, the children of Ham are distinctively melanated, right? As it would tend to create a respect for us, which he believed did not exist. Washington agreed and was eager to promote the organization. The objective of the African Association is, as described by Henry Sylvester Williams, was to respond to the need for unity amongst African people in order to garner respect in the world. Important point. What we're doing right here in I Love Black People is certainly a Pan-Africanist endeavor. And this is telling you about the emergence and birth of Pan-Africanism. And here it is right here, the historical fact, the objective of the African Association as described by Henry Sylvester Williams himself. And the reason why I use this chapter, because I wrote it, I know where the sources come from. This comes from Henry Sylvester Williams' letter to Booker T. Washington as he tells him why the African Association was established and what its mission was. So I know for a fact that this comes directly from one of the progenitors of not just the phrase, but the concept of Pan-Africanism, right? So the objective of the African Association, as described by Henry Sylvester Williams, was to respond to the need for unity amongst African people in order to garner respect in the world. The organization would make representation in cases of oppression affecting our people wherever found. During the later part of 1898, the association began planning the first Pan-African Conference in order to advance their aims. In June of 1899, Williams wrote Booker T. Washington from London regarding the conference and enclosed a circular requesting that Washington the US. Washington accepted the invitation and promised to make it known as widely as possible. He not only promoted the conference through the Black press, he outlined the agenda and deemed it